Starting now, haha.
I felt
My
like Fabian for a
also
moment
started
there.
now.
I don't know why. Okay, I've opened the episode structure document this time because we've messed up for like 4 consecutive episodes, and I feel like at some point we should stop doing that. So, first things first, it's the thing that we can't do to the point where it's funny that we can't do it. 3, 2, 1.
Hey
nerd. I think you and I might have been consecutive on that, Caroline.
Ooh.
Which you and I, oh.
Yeah. I heard Caroline at the same time as I was saying it. So is 11, I was gonna say lucky number 11, but it's not. I don't know why I was gonna say that. 11's the regular number. Anyways, it's the 11th episode. People make wishes
on, like, 11/11 the time, so maybe that.
That's true. Wish episode, I guess.
Yes.
But I was gonna say it's lucky number 11, and my name is still Eli, and my pronouns are still they, them, theirs.
My name is Caroline, and my pronouns are still she, her, hers.
I'm known by many names, but my name is Gray, my pronouns are they, them, theirs.
Yes.
This is Hey Nerd.
This is Gray. They do the music.
Wait, do we need to do episode description?
Yes.
Well, it says guest intro. Episode description, I think, happens loosely, but I will put it here, I guess, now that Gray's been introduced. So again, I shouldn't be put in charge of running these things because I can't do them correctly.
It's okay.
As we said, we're not going to sing, so you'll just have to imagine that I'm singing this part. If you need to know...
I don't think anybody needs that.
If you need to know about music notes, who you gonna call? Gray. The nerds may know their way around a piano, but for this week's episode, they're calling it a professional for an episode all about music. Eli's still stuck in their MCR phase, Caroline plagiarized a Harry Potter musical at age 8, Gray's the only one who actually knows what they're talking about, and all 3 are total nerds. In case you didn't get that, that was to the Ghostbuster theme song. I wrote it, and then I realized it was a song just before I started reading the episode description, and I was like...
That wasn't a pun the whole time?
No, it was, but then it was like, my brain was like, oh yeah, this would be a funny thing for someone to read in their head, and then I remembered that I had to read it out loud, and I was like, I could sing this, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I did see that, and I was like, this is an interesting execution. Okay.
Yes. I don't know.
Who am I to judge?
I've been watching.
Who am I to judge someone else's episode description?
Yeah, we critique each other in real time right now about episode descriptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we've kind of already done the intro, but Gray, you do the music. How would you like to introduce yourself to the world?
Are you asking me for my background on music, or...
Just, how would, if you had to give an elevator pitch for yourself as a person, how would you do that?
You didn't tell me you were gonna ask me this.
Well, I mean, is there any information? Shelby wanted us to have her Twitter be available to people because she wanted people to debate her on Twitter, I guess. Shelby asked to be debated, which I don't understand, but, you know, to each their own. So it's like, is there any information that the listeners should know, just in general, before we get into it?
I'm not going to advertise my social media, but, I guess, since we're talking about music, I am a violinist. I have been playing violin since I was 5, which is, how many years is that? 13 years now?
Mm-hmm.
And I've pretty much just grown up around music, and, I'm really excited to be on this podcast.
Yay! Woo! Woo! Yes. Okay. I've selected a Brendan question, Caroline. I don't know if we discussed the Brendan question for this week, but I've selected it.
We didn't discuss most of the things. I didn't know what the topic was until a few days ago.
Yeah, and Eli didn't tell you, it was me. I told you the topic.
I know now. The communication
Good job. Great
eventually.
job, Eli.
I was not aware
Great
that you
job.
didn't know. I feel like we've had a breakdown in communication because we didn't record last week, and so when we would normally discuss things, we just didn't.
And then that just didn't happen, and
Or maybe you just automatically assumed that Caroline would know what the topic is since it was me.
I kind of figured it was gonna be that. I just, didn't know for sure. I was fully prepared to just come here and just not know what was going on. That was the thing that I was willing and ready to do.
Cool. Well, unfortunately for you, I think traditionally you would be the first to answer this Brendan question, so you're just getting thrown into the sharks. But the
Woo.
question is, if you were a band, which band would you be? Because music. Because we already took the album question, so...
I would be Evelyn, because that's a fun concept art band. And also, I started listening to it at the beginning of quarantine, and Evelyn is led partly by Amanda Palmer, who is Neil Gaiman's current wife, and right as I got back into listening to Evelyn, there were rumors like Neil Gaiman and Amanda Palmer were getting a divorce. So I was experiencing that music at the same time as I was like looking at Twitter and just being like, what the fuck is going on with this couple and what's happening? So yeah, that was fun.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
Fun times. Gray, you said that you had an answer. You texted me that you had an answer at
Yes,
a
I have
time.
a very complicated answer.
Oh boy.
I have two answers to this question. The first answer is me, like, based on song vibes / like emotional kind of things, and that would be Smoke and Mirrors era Imagine Dragons specifically, because that album just like fluctuates between anthem type songs and just like loud aggressive songs. Like it's like every other song is one of those two, and if I was literally a band, I would be Panic at the Disco because I love the idea of just being a one-man band. I think that's really cool. So, yeah.
I think, I don't know, this is a hard question because all the music I listen to is incongruous with who I am not incongruous with who I am as a person, but incongruous with how I present myself. That being said, I think if I was a band, I would probably... I think the vibes are, Arctic Monkeys, because it's, like, very chill, very there, but, you know, there's some, like, it seems very chill, and then beneath that layer very chill, it's like, oh, all of the emotion, all of the time, which I think is kind of where I'm at, is, like, a veneer of chillness over just a mess.
Actually, I'd like to change my answer if the entire, like, Mamma Mia soundtrack counts as, like, a band/album thing. Not the band ABBA, but the cast of the Mamma Mia movies. That's my final answer. There we go.
The band that is just
Dude,
all
is
the
there a
singers
reason
in
for
the
this?
Mamma Mia movies.
The Mamma Mia movies fucking slap, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I was listening... It's just fucking good. It is like serotonin directly to the veins. It is amazing.
That's facts. Like, Mamma Mia is really good.
It is really good.
Which one do you like better?
Both. Both are good. I like them both.
No preference.
No preference.
Only Mamma
both.
Mia.
Put either one on. I am a happy gal.
I've never seen either of the Mamma Mia movies.
You should fix that, my guy.
Well, now we know what we're doing after quarantine, Eli.
Oh, I feel like I just keep getting... I shouldn't reveal what pieces of media I've never consumed, because then I'm immediately told I need to consume them.
Well, see, that's exactly what you did to me with Star Wars, so
No,
I don't know why
you
you're
needed
complaining.
to see episode 4. I said that you needed to see one movie, and it was episode 4, and that's because it's a cultural touchstone, which I guess Mamma Mia is also a cultural touchstone. I would argue Megamind is not a cultural touchstone, and Shelby can get mad at me on Twitter about it, but...
You're the one person Shelby's
I
gonna
do
debate on
not
Twitter
see
about
the
this.
issue.
Yeah, when this episode
With
comes
me not
out,
having
Shelby's
seen
gonna
Star
tweet me.
Wars, I don't see a problem.
Eli's trying to
I'm not going to turn this
proselytize
into a Star Wars episode.
And I'm not sure.
However, I think if you're going to make me watch Mamma Mia, that is done with the understanding that I'm going to make you watch Star Wars, so I suppose there's like an equivalent exchange there.
Okay.
But, you know.
One way or another. And you're never gonna read Frankenstein despite my many threats to get you to read.
Well,
I think
apparently
we
we're gonna have to... Yeah, I think we're gonna have to read it
Yeah.
for... I've been informed that by Gray that we're gonna have to read it for 12th grade lit. I will never read it of my own volition. School is school, and that's some things I can't escape.
And now I'm gonna have whole class discussions about how Victor Frankenstein's a little bitch, so you have that to look forward to, my guy.
I believe that Laura Williams will agree with you on that.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole point of the book, is that Victor Frankenstein sucks. That is the thesis, that is the message.
That is the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we're both getting vindicated because you're gonna get to have class discussions about Frankenstein, and I'm gonna have class discussions about my favorite boy, Albert Camus, who I love so much.
Yay.
Yeah, that's some Eli lore. I don't know if that's lore, that's just an opinion I have. Anyways.
No, everything Eli reveals about themselves on this podcast is Eli deep lore, and I categorize it as such in the timestamps.
Good, that's good
to
know.
It's either about Eli deep lore or it's an Eli dad fact, and those are the two things, those are the bits of information that you reveal about yourself and your family.
Great.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think it is time for our weekly anecdotes, if we have them. I don't. I've done nothing interesting this week except SAT practice.
Oh, fun.
2 weeks... No, wait, a week from Friday. So
oh, fun.
I have that to look forward to.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that for several months. Well, my weekly anecdote is I went to a little online linguistics program, and while I was there, like, I thought the odds of finding someone else who's, like, a lesbian who's into D&D, who runs a podcast that drops episodes on Wednesdays, and is also a linguist, would be fairly low. Those odds were, like, 1 in 22, so shout out to Sophia and her podcast, Quotes and Anecdotes, that she runs, that's, again, it drops on Wednesdays, I think, and it's on Apple Podcasts, and it's about words and stuff, and it's a very nice warm hug of a podcast, as opposed to the kind of general shit show that we have going on here. Which is
as opposed to us flinging things at a canvas and seeing what sticks.
This is like, like, word, like, Pollock, and then Sophia's podcast, Quotes and Anecdotes, is like kind of a Monet painting. So if you want something on Wednesdays to do that's, like, a little bit shorter than our stuff, that's a little more relaxing and chill and nice, and to learn about words, then head over there. Apple Podcasts, Quotes and Anecdotes. It's awesome.
Woo! You said that you have
my
decided.
Anecdote is, I woke up one morning this week, and I went out to the kitchen for breakfast, and I found this on the table. For those of you who are listening, this is a gigantic origami frog. It is huge. It's bigger than my head. And it is made from an old piece of our, like, family calendar, and my dad just took it and made it, and now I have it because apparently he made it for me. So...
That's so cute.
So now I just have this giant frog.
Is your love language just making origami frogs in your house?
Oh my god. I have entire, like, bags of them.
Oh my god. So many!
I think that's all of them. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if that's a love language, it's just, like, something that my dad and I do back and forth, sometimes just to fuck with each other. Like, he made this, and I was like, Dad, why did you do this? And he was like, I don't know, because I could.
Well,
because it was gonna get thrown away. And I was like, okay, Father.
Lovely.
Why not? Awesome.
The way my dad and I fuck with each other is attempting to pin each other onto the couch, so I guess what you're doing sounds slightly healthier. Yeah. So, the only advantage I have in a fight, and my dad, I do have an anecdote. My dad and I discussed this because so specifically, when we were playing D&D last week, Shelby, in a discussion about coming to my house and attempting to murder me, you know, as D&D sessions go, Shelby looked me in the eye through the screen and was like, I am fully aware that you would beat me in a fight, which is true. But my dad and I were discussing which of my friends I could beat in a fight at Sunday dinner. Because why not? On Sunday, at dinner, we were discussing who I could beat in a fight. My dad has more confidence in me than I do, which is not the point of this. But the point was we were discussing this, and I was thinking, and then I said, I think that the one advantage I have over most of my friends is that I have spent my whole life wrestling my father, like, active, full-body wrestling him on the couch, trying not to get pinned. So I know how to do that, and I don't think most of my friends have done that. I can't imagine Shelby wrestling with her father. I don't think that
I think her dad
happened.
would try to, but she wouldn't stand for it.
Yeah, so, I do think you should know, Caroline, that despite my insistence that we are evenly matched, my dad thinks that I can take you in a fight. Well, I guess I can take you in a fight. My dad thinks that I can beat you in a fight. Which is very funny. And he thinks I can beat Piper, which is blatantly untrue.
Piper beat
I would
five
think it would be
of our
funny if he
classmates
thought that.
hand to hand in a row in the matter of 2 minutes. So I feel like Piper would definitely kick your ass solidly. So even if I'm out of the fight, you have like a line of people who are ready and willing to fight you.
Yeah, I have amassed like a series of challenges.
So there's the thing with Piper's ready and willing to fight you, whereas like most people would just be ready but not willing because Eli is small bean.
No, I'm ready and willing.
No, I think
I'll fuck
Caroline
Eli
is
up.
ready and willing to fight me.
I'm gonna do it. We're gonna fight to the death, and it's gonna be great.
Except we've also determined that you and I are matched in such a way where you can never succeed in your goal of killing me, and I can never succeed in my goal of escaping Caroline's wrath, and so we are stuck forever in an endless cycle of attempted murder, I guess.
This was all determined, again, during the D&D session, because we started rolling dice.
Yeah,
and
it was after midnight. We played for a really long time. We were very tired.
With with fewer people than we normally play with, as well. Like, the fight just took that long. It was 3 full hours.
Yep.
But yeah, so we rolled some dice and we both rolled 11s, and so we're locked in an eternal battle for the end of time.
Yep. Alright. How should I format the Graceless segue this week?
I think you just did.
Yeah, I guess I just did. I was trying to think if I could, like, make it music themed. But I don't know enough about enough instruments to, like, make a good joke. So I was gonna say maybe we should backflip off the stage and into the orchestra pit, and that's gonna be our Graceless segue into music.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I don't think that that's safe, but...
Well, first of all, most orchestra pits have a net on top of them, so you wouldn't fall on the instruments, you'd just fall in the net and then not be able to get out, because it's really deep.
Cool.
We're in the net of this episode now, and we're not getting out for several hours. So that's weird.
Why don't you just not do a backflip and just go down the stairs to the pit?
But then it's not a graceless segue. We gotta be dumbasses
segues are always backflips.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're doing a swan dive from the mezzanine into the orchestra section of the audience.
Oh, okay, so something we can go over is, you may have noticed the intro music is different this week.
Woo! It is.
That is because that's courtesy of me.
Yeah.
I dabble in composing, I suppose, and so
don't worry about it.
We're doing hand gestures, it's fine.
I offered the Caroline and Eli to use something that I've written in the past as intro or outro music, and they took me up on that. So, yeah, I don't remember exactly when I wrote the thing that is in this podcast. I believe it was definitely before high school. It may have been the summer between 7th and 8th grade. And yeah. So, there we go. That was
really cool.
A little bit less of a graceless segue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really cool thing as well, is just, now, the fun thing about having a person who does music on the podcast is we can use some of that music, and make the podcast a little nifty. It's customized.
Yeah, it's not something from the Free Music Archive, for once.
I mean, shout out to Sauce
Well, I'm the Free Music Archive.
You're an archive of free music, this is true.
Yes.
Alright. So
Sorry,
yeah.
my knees got really
I wouldn't consider it so much an archive, because I only have, 3 things that I can send to you.
It's still an archive of things. That's multiple things in a place for storage. That's an archive.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's, a bottom limit on what it means to be an archive.
I think one thing. I think you need at least one thing. Maybe
Well,
two.
I would think you would want 2, because it's not really a collection until you have 2. When it's one thing, it's just that's a thing.
So my mom has 2 children, so technically she has an archive of children in her house.
My parents have 5!
That's a bigger archive!
My parents don't have an archive.
My family archive is bigger than yours!
Oh no, which one of us is gonna get the grant money?
Oh no, it's too real. It's too real. Bro, sound off if you're gonna work in a field where you need grant money, because I hate that that's a thing that I'm gonna have to deal with.
you know you're in charge of your own future for the most part, right?
I know, but the thing that I want to do more than anything else necessitates that I work in a field where I have to apply for grants, and I've watched my father write too many grant papers to not hate the abstract idea of grants.
Yeah, isn't all jobs just asking for money to come your way?
Yeah, that is true.
It's just like, I want money, please give it to me and I will do a thing with it.
This is true. We've managed to get off topic, I think, within a minute of the graceless segue.
New record.
So, another backflip into another orchestra pit in a different part of town, and we're at...
How did we get there in 1 minute?
Magic.
Excuse
teleportation?
me.
Backflips.
Teleportation. We have the powers of 5 from the Umbrella Academy and can just teleport.
And about the same attitude.
Yeah. Yes,
So we've landed on top of Vanya, I think.
Yeah. We are crashing all of Vanya's shows. Or I guess we're just crashing Vanya's show, but we don't know where she's performing, so we're trying all the orchestras. Anyway, I was gonna say, normally this is the point of the episode in which we do personal history. So, I will throw that out into the universe.
I was introduced to music at quite a young age.
Yeah. I guess maybe personal history with the music that you listen to, maybe, because I think everyone listens to music as a young child. That is, like, the way in which a lot of people teach young children things. So I guess the question could be more along the lines of what the music you predominantly listen to now, or even maybe like the genre of music you predominantly listen to. How, why, when, where, who?
Well,
did you get there?
Yeah.
The genre of music I predominantly listen to is classical music, so that necessitates that I talk about my elementary school, which I'm not going to say the name of it, but if you know me, you know where I went to elementary school. I don't remember this, but I am told that my parents told me that I was going to go to this elementary school and I was going to play violin, and I said, okay, what's a violin? Like, completely just accepting my fate, not even knowing, like, what I was getting myself into. And so I ended up doing that, and I just kind of vibed with it for the first few years. I was like, yeah, this is just like this thing that I do that I guess I'm good at, sort of. Which was not true. I was not only sort of good at it, which I didn't discover until high school. But so I started getting really into it, I guess, like 5th grade-ish, and that's, like, the point at which I got really serious about it. I was like, I want to do this thing, and I don't want to just, like, vibe. I'm gonna actually be serious. And so I started, like, listening to classical pieces, trying to get my bearings as to where I would be, like, in the music field once I got older, etc. And so here we have this human sitting before you who doesn't know any kind of music, pretty much, except for classical music, and then just, like, a few things on the side. So there we have my personal history.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing in the episode description is true. I did kind of plagiarize a Harry Potter musical at age 8. I didn't...
Can you, like, can you elaborate on that?
I'm trying to figure out how, is the thing.
So,
I'm trying to figure out how to explain this in a way that makes some kind of coherent sense that doesn't completely mortify me, but I've dug this pit for myself, so here we go.
Yeah, complete mortification is the name of the game, my friend.
Yeah. That is the name of the game of this podcast,
That's also a song in Mamma Mia.
That is... the name of the game is the name of a song in Mamma Mia. This is true. I don't think self-mortification is something that ABBA has ever produced.
Oh, no.
I don't know, those Scandinavians, man, like...
I mean, they wrote Fernando Deadass about the Texas Revolution. ABBA can do whatever the fuck they want. Anyway, back to a Harry Potter musical. So it's 2010, right? And I'm like, 8 years old. I got my iPod Touch. I'm vibing. And there's like this little app on there called YouTube. And I opened that up. And I think my babysitter probably showed me Potter Puppet Pals. And then I was just like, logical progression from there to watch a little bit of Star Kid. And a Harry Potter musical, which had been released in like 2009. And so it was just becoming a thing, I think. Thing is, I don't think I have actually watched the full thing. I think I watched maybe the first bits of it. Because I was suspicious of the fact that they were, like, released in, like, episodes instead of, like, just the full show. So I was like, is this a bootleg or something? It's not a bootleg. Their camera quality was just like that. It's not like an illicit recording. They just genuinely, that was just the quality of the cameras they were
It was just
using.
a bunch of college kids recording their own show, like...
In 2009. I was very judgy as a 9-year-old, I guess. So anyway, I was like, well, I like this concept. So I'm gonna do it. But I was...
Me.
So the people who know me know that I really like the movie Clue, right? So...
Fair, that's a valid opinion. Clue is a good movie.
Clue is
Continue.
a good movie. And I was like, you know what? I'm interested in a Harry Potter musical, and I'm interested in Clue, so the logical combination of these two things that I like is to just make a Harry Potter musical, but for Clue. The plot was loose, to say the least. And it was more of what I now know would be called a jukebox musical, because it's just music I was interested in at the time. But I did have, like, several pages of, like, handwritten script that I did. Like, lyrics and all included, and, like, yeah, I think it was, like, maybe a full 1 act or something, and I got my aunt to type it up, because I guess I was just like, I don't know how to format this into a play thing. And apparently her stepson looked over as she was doing this, and he's like, what's that for? And she's like, oh, it's for Caroline. And he's like, what's she doing? And he's like, oh, she made a musical. And he's like, why? And she's like, 'cause she wanted to? Which is, again, just, like, you see it today before you, folks. There's some stuff that's just been constant. So yeah, I did that, and I got some neighborhood friends interested in it, but then it never really got into production, so...
Does this still exist somewhere?
Maybe?
Like, could we dig out this file?
I'm not sure it's a file. It was all printed out, so I only have, like, paper copies of it, but maybe it exists somewhere, I'm sure.
If you found that, that would be... I'm not gonna make you do that. That would be a really funny episode to just go read through that.
No, that would be something for when I am not here, so you can just roast me on that while I am in another room, quietly living my existence.
Yeah, okay, well, I don't know. I think maybe I'm supposed to be more mortified about this than I am, but also... I stopped caring at some point, like, just about things at some point in 8th grade, and I haven't restarted that engine since.
Yeah, you don't care about anything.
I have no feelings ever. That's
Except
not
about
true.
Star Wars, apparently, and why people should watch episode 4.
That is false.
Okay, I will have to take that roast, because I can't argue against it without just digging myself a deeper hole. But the point of all of this is, that, as we said, I've not escaped my MCR phase. I've not escaped the middle school emo phase. I was supposed to, but I didn't catch that train, and now I'm stuck here, just living my life.
Flipping into orchestra pits.
Yeah, in orchestra pits. Yeah, so I think, stereotypically, I got into... So it was actually the summer after 7th grade, because I'm not a person who listens to music. I think that's something that should be made clear. Like, I'll listen to the radio if I'm in the car.
This is something about you that I will never understand.
I mean, it's something I'll do when I'm in the car, or I'll do when I'm doing mindless tasks, but it's the same reason that I can't listen to, like, podcasts normally, is because I can't sit still and listen to something. I have to be doing, like, a thing. But if I'm doing anything, music makes it hard to pay attention to the things I'm doing, so I can't, like, write and listen to music, and I can't read and listen to music, which are kind of, the two things I do most of the time to just fill time in the day. So I will, like, listen to music if I'm doing something mindless, but otherwise I don't spend a whole lot of time listening to music, which means that it took me until the summer after 7th grade to develop any sort of taste in music, because I was just kind of passively experiencing it. But when I was at camp that summer, my roommate was super into My Chemical Romance and Panic at the Disco, and not as much 21 Pilots, which is, I think, part of the reason why I never got so into 21 Pilots, but, like, stereotypical beginner grade emo rock, alt-rock, music. So I started listening at that point, and then I just kept going down the rabbit hole of accumulating more and more bands in that genre that I listened to, which is, like, how you get me now with I think the master list of my music is now at, like, 1,500 songs, and rock and alt-rock make up 1,000 of those songs, because I listen to those two genres with a sprinkling of some other stuff. But yeah, I think I just kept, like, because the way I consume music is that I don't consume, like, specific songs or even specific albums. I find a singer who I generally like, and then I just, like, consume all of their music or add it to this master playlist that I have. Because I like just always listening to new stuff, which is why I, like, have amassed such a gigantic quality of music, is so I'm not listening to the same things over and over again. Because brain stimulus important.
Yes.
That's the story. I am still an emo. It's hard to tell from the way I dress, I guess, though I do wear a lot of black and am generally sad looking.
It's not hard to tell.
I think anyone who knows you would, like, at all, like,
yeah.
Well,
pretty much knows.
I would say that, but then I also get a lot of homeless jokes, so I don't know if I look emo or if I look homeless.
Can't spell homeless without emo, so there you go.
Yeah, okay. You know,
that's true.
You're
that
not
took me a
wrong.
second.
You look grunge. I think you look like a grunge kid, and I think that's kind of an offshoot of, like, punk, which is related to emo. Sorry, I was moving around a lot during that, because there's a spider in my closet with me, and I don't know how to deal with that situation, so he's over there in the corner
Caroline
now.
is in a closet.
Unfortunate.
I did not realize you were in a closet until just this second.
Yeah, it's Caroline's recording studio.
Yeah, soundproofing, baby.
That is very funny, considering you are no longer in the closet at all.
Yep.
Yes. I was gonna say, there is the joke that I've said that my aesthetic is if a grunge kid took a shower, which is probably reflective of what Caroline said.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is, but yeah, I the way that I dress and the way that the music I listen to are at least somewhat reflective of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think, yeah, I would not be shocked if, like, the day we'd met, you were like, and I listened to My Chemical Romance. I'd be like, that tracks. This makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the day we met, I was wearing, like, a black and white button-up and skinny jeans, and...
Yeah.
I don't know, I think if the day we met I had said that to you, you may have had some questions, because I had, like, waist-length braided brown hair.
This is true.
But now, if I came up to a freshman and told them I listened to My Chemical Romance, I think they'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Oh god, the spider's coming this way. Where is he going? Oh no. See, I would kill it, but also, now that I'm playing a druid in D&D, I feel bad about killing spiders, because they do good work. But also, sir, please don't get on my leg.
You have a hamper, or do you have, like, a shoebox in your closet?
It's fine, he's behind the box that the laptop is on, so, you know, he's gonna hang out there, and I'm gonna be over here, and we're just gonna coexist. And it's gonna be fun.
Cool.
I had a, like, big-ass cricket in my room last night. I don't know how it got in here. I did not hesitate to kill it. I don't want that noise while I'm trying to sleep. So, no thank you.
That just reminded me, I don't know, this has nothing to do with music, but this is a family story that's not about my dad, it's about my cousin, because my cousin and I are dumbasses when we're put together. Separately, we're also dumbasses separately, but we're especially bad when we're put together.
I feel like you were doing something there, and then you were like, wait,
yeah, I was gonna say we're fine separately, and then I was like, no, we're not, but I think he is one of the people, when I'm around him, that pushes me to not care about my own safety. And all of this to say, one time we were on, like, a family trip for my grandfather's birthday out in, like, rural Texas. Not quite where it gets into, like, not desert, but desert-y area. But close enough that, like, you know, there are giant hornets and stuff. And there was this just, like, I think it must have been, like, that big, tarantula spider thing. I don't know exactly what it was.
So, like, 2 tennis ball size
for
people who cannot see you.
it was a large thing, and my cousin and I chased it for, like, 40 feet. We,
Poor
like,
tarantula.
not even 40 feet. I think we chased it until it crossed, like, a cow grate, and we weren't allowed to go beyond that cow grate. But we were just following after the spider, and at the time I was like, this is a perfectly logical thing to do, and now I'm like, oh, if we had made it mad, that wouldn't have been good.
I think you made it
but
scared.
I
I think you were
survived.
torturing
That
a
could
poor
have been,
spider.
like, end of Eli if you made it mad.
I mean, I don't know.
Like, no more Eli existing in the world.
It may have also been the end of my cousin. Who knows which one of us would have gotten attacked. Yeah, I don't know.
Being chased by a tarantula, you don't need to outrun the tarantula, you just need to outrun the other guy. As the old saying goes.
Yeah.
I think the old saying does not involve the word tarantula, but go off, I guess.
It's fine. It's the remix.
It's the tarantula remix.
There's an album title. In the mythology episode, we made up a band, and I think that is the second album title for that band. The Tarantula Remix.
What were the album titles? I thought it was, the first one was The Devil is an Englishman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, The Devil is an Englishman was the EP. Frogs Are Fine was the band, was the first album, and now the Tarantula Remix is the second album.
And it's just remixes of, like, the EP.
I think you have, like,
with
an
tarantulas in it
animal
somehow.
vibe going
like, you
on
just say
there.
the word tarantula before the song starts, and then it, like, it's just the same song.
No, it's
the same album, but, like, with tarantula in it.
It's the same album, but every song is remixed with the music Animal Crossing plays when you make a tarantula mad. Because there's a specific, like, sound that gets played while you're being chased by a tarantula. And that's what this album is.
The third album is
like,
We Apologize
overlaid on
to
top
Nintendo.
of every single one of the songs.
Yeah. Back, I guess, more to music, and I don't remember if I showed you this, but have you guys ever seen the person where they've remixed I just died a little. Where they remixed Kahoot music with Sweet Dreams Are Made of This?
I think I've heard that before.
I feel like I've seen it, like, maybe once. So the thing with things like that is that really bugs me, because I have, what is it called? This thing with my ear where, like, things sound weird if they're not, like, in tune, and so I can't, like, listen to stuff like that, because it's just like, what the fuck is this? Why does it sound like that? I'm done.
Yeah, no, I found it very funny, because Kahoot music is not bad, but is definitely Kahoot music.
Yeah.
Which is how I'm gonna put it. And it
should have made the intro outro for this episode the Kahoot music.
I think we'd get copyrighted.
Yeah, I think we'd get copyrighted so hard, so fast. I mean, I don't know if that's copyrighted music, but I imagine it must be. Yeah, I guess because I don't have a problem with things being off. Like, I can tell when things are, like, this is pitched weird. But it doesn't, like, the non-harmonious sounds don't bother me, I think, in the same way that it sounds like they affect you. So it was just really funny to me, because I was like, this is awful, but I love it just a little bit. Just a smidge.
It really sounded like, before you, briefly died for a minute, that you were gonna say something Cthulhu, and I was, like, very worried for a second. I was like, are you listening to, like, Lovecraftian worship music?
Does such a thing
that is
exist?
something I
I'm
wouldn't
sure
have
that it
plucked
does.
from you.
Actually, that's a bad question. That's a stupid question. I'm sure that exists.
I'm sure someone's taken, like, Gregorian chant music and then made it Cthulhu worshipping. Like,
God, H.P. Lovecraft would have been
please
terrified
never take
of dubstep.
Gregorian chants and do anything with them. Oh my god. That would be, like, Gregorian chants are just a little, like, borderline creepy on their own. And if you make them into, like, Satan or, like, Cthulhu, no. Just don't mess with Gregorian chants.
Don't fuck with Gregorian chants.
At camp one year, a bunch of kids did, like, a Gregorian chant. They just got up on a stage and started, like, doing a Gregorian chant song, and I was sitting there like, what is happening? What's going on right now?
That's a valid reaction, I think.
I mean, yeah.
Your camp has some, like, weird shit going on.
I know, right?
Correct. I mean, it's a bunch of nerds in a confined space. Things are gonna get weird. Because it's just everyone knows too many things. You know that problem where you're like, Creative writing faces the same problem.
No.
All of us know too many, like, random pieces of information that it's just never good when you put us together and give us no boundaries.
We've said
Which
it
is
before, and we've said it again. Nerds are high intelligence, low fucking wisdom.
Yeah, that's true.
No common sense. No.
I've never had that issue. I do not know anything.
I think
Do not ask me things. Brain empty.
You know several things, which has taken 45 minutes for us to get to, but you know several things about music at least. It's taken a minute to get here, but we're here. So I guess, like, what is your, like, what kind of draws you to music? Like, why is this the thing that you want to do for your life?
I don't really have a clear answer for this, but, my cat is making a noise. I'm sorry.
Is your cat wearing something?
Yeah, okay, sorry, we're off track again, but my cat, has a cone because she has, like, a issue. She's not happy about it. She's been very mad for the past, like, 3 months, because we have been having to keep it on her because she has a stress reaction where she, like, ends up hurting herself because she's stressed and won't stop, like, licking in the same spot, and so it, like, it gives her injuries, and so, she's just big mad right now. She walks around the house with, like, a stink face and just, like, glares at everyone. And that's just the vibe. But right now, she's chilling. She's napping. Okay, anyways.
Yeah,
so, I don't really have a clear answer to your question, but I can say that, as a person who struggles with anxiety and, like, change, it's something that, like, especially during junior year when I was, like, really struggling with my classes, it was something that I could come back to and be like, yeah, okay, this is, like, something that I know how to do. And I feel like it's just been that constant in my whole life, whereas everything else is just moving around everywhere. So it's just something that I've always, like, revolved around, gravitated towards. I kind of orbit music, and, it's something that always calls me back. There's been times when I was just like, I'm done with this, I'm never playing the violin again, and then, like, the next day I'm like, damn it. So...
I'm playing the violin again.
Like,
stop.
Sometimes it's like, I'm just like, oh my god, this is not working, I'm never playing this piece again, and then I come back to it, like, 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, hello again, it's me. So, as a person who struggles with things changing, and having a hard time with change and, like, differences in life and just transition periods, especially between middle and high school, it was something that was always there for me when no one else was.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say the same thing with music, but that sounds like similar things that I've experienced with writing, so I get that feeling.
Yeah. It's the art thing, and I also know that I'm the only guest on this podcast this season who is not a creative writer. So that's a little weird, but it's okay.
We have our friend group skews a certain way. I don't know. It just happens to be.
I mean, I've been told before that I'm, like, an honorary member of pretty much every other art department.
Yeah.
Like... Because I don't... Okay, the thing about me, I don't have friends in my own art area because, newsflash, musicians suck.
Oh, damn, hot takes coming in from Gray.
My hot
Drama
take
alert.
is that musicians, for the most part, like, musicians are horrible people. I have one friend in my art area. Shout out to Nathan. I don't know if he's ever going to listen to this, but shout out to him. That's my boy.
Hey.
That's my recital partner. He's one of my best friends and the only person in my art area I'm friends with.
Oh my god, fucking noob.
My hot take is that musicians suck because they all think that they're better than you, even when they're very clearly not, and it's horrible, and I hate it.
Musicians have a fucking Napoleon complex.
They do!
He hasn't even been spilled. It's
Especially,
been,
like, okay,
violently
have you guys
thrown
ever,
across
like...
the table as, like, the glass shatters.
Have you guys ever seen, like, the musician stereotypes memes? I don't know if you have.
No.
It's like that, but most... the section that's the worst about it is the section that I'm in. Like, the thing was, like, violinists are always like, oh my god, I'm better than you, like, all of the time, and it's like, can we just, like, get along for 2 minutes? God damn it.
Can we maybe not?
Oh my god.
Like, the person, I don't hate anyone, but the person that I have the most issues with in my art area is a violinist. So, there you
This
go.
is
There's my
fascinating.
instrument.
This is a fascinating peek into the world of instrumentalists. This is amazing.
Fascinating peak, at least at our school. Everyone hates each other, and people say they practice, but no one practices. No one ever practices.
I did know that one, actually.
Yeah, I've told you about that before.
Well, you told me about
where
that,
I'm
but
like,
also,
I should be practicing, but I'm not.
Every instrumentalist I talk to, they're like, yeah, I don't practice, and I'm like, wild.
I know pianists, and they're like, when am I not practicing?
That's true.
Okay, well, I will say, like, the people who don't practice are, like, the band kids, specifically, brass players. I'm gonna just roast them right now. Brass, if any of you are listening to this, please practice. My god. Anyway, and then, like, there are certain string players who practice because they're, like, super into it. I'm super into it, and I don't practice, so... Except that I, like, do, but, like, I don't. And it's, like, a thing.
Wait.
But, like, the people who do practice are the pianists who are, like, I text Alice, shout out to Alice.
Shout out to Alice.
And, I think she's gonna listen to this because I sent it to her. But I'll be talking to her and, she's like, so I practiced for 5 hours today, and I'm like, excuse me? I could never. Excuse me? What? And you wonder why you have tendinitis. So...
Jesus Christ. Okay, section by section, most to least, who practice it, like, where do people fall on the practicing continuum? Because now I genuinely want to know. This is amazing.
Who practices the least? Brass. Right above brass is, like, low strings, and then above low strings is woodwinds, and then above woodwinds is violas, and then above violas is violins, and then above violins is piano.
Okay.
Cool.
And that's that on that, y'all. If you want to... If you have any complaints...
You can write down my scale of who practices in your episode description.
Yeah. If y'all want to challenge that, or if you're a musician with your own take on it, email us, heynerdpodcast@gmail.com. And we will put together a battle royale of instrumentalists for our season 2 finale.
Oh, that makes me think of
our season 2 finale.
Yeah, we have a season 1 finale plan.
Yeah, if we went through creative writing's, like, sub-area and figure out who procrastinates the most, because I feel like that's the true mark of any creative writer, is how late before
you
a
assume
deadline.
that, like, practicing and procrastinating are not the same thing, because they are.
No, I 100% believe they are, but writers don't have to practice, we just do. And I guess our practice is the amount of times you do it poorly before you, like, get a revision that works.
How many times do you have to revise?
But yeah, I think the mark of a creative writer is how long before your deadline are you like, I should start this.
I feel like that's endemic to every sub-area is the thing, though. Because
I think Caroline froze.
Huh?
Yeah, you froze for a while, my friend.
Oh, no. Am I back?
You are back.
Yes,
right,
you're
excellent.
back.
I was just gonna say, I think that procrastination is something endemic to every single one of the sub-areas. I don't, like, poetry maybe, with, like, advanced fiction, when we procrastinate to the last minute, like, it's more of an extreme sport, but, like, with poetry, I feel like you can just get away with it, because it's like, I'm just gonna, like, hit enter on a thing, and, like, produce some images, and it'll be fine.
The extreme sport of music is going to rehearsal without knowing your part. Which many of us have done. Like, it's like facing the wrath of our wonderful conductor, Dr. Smith, and being like, sir, I do not know this part. And he's like, cool, neither does anyone else. So, like, I guess you're just gonna get yelled at for an hour and a half. And that's just gonna be like a thing. And the extreme sport in instrumental is not practicing.
But you all do it.
It's not practicing and then facing and, like, going to rehearsal and being like, trying to pretend that you did practice and that you know the part, and then you're just like, I actually do not know anything.
Yeah, I think disappointing your teachers in creative writing is a very extreme sport.
Yeah, it's such a hard bar to hit, and I think the proof for this is that in poetry, the most extreme form of procrastination is straight up not turning anything in and telling this off day, hey, I don't have anything for you this week. That's, like, the most oof.
I could never do that with Miss Rolliter. Could never happen to me.
No.
I think I'd get vaporized on the spot.
I don't think I could ever do, like, an advanced workshop with Miss Rolliter, partially because I think if I did an advanced fiction workshop, I would promptly implode and die. But she is the one teacher who I'm like, I can't. I also can't with, I mean, I don't think I could do it with any teacher, but I think Miss Swiddick would also, like, reach into my chest and rip my heart out if I was like, I don't have anything for you. Because she's so Miss Swiddick that I think disappointing her is the worst thing, just
it's
flat out.
Sin. Like,
it's yeah.
Straight to the ninth circle for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shout out to Miss Swiddick and Miss Rolliter, you're great teachers, and we love you both. Yeah. I know that, like, I don't know where this would fall, but I know that the jazz kids are kind of notorious for straight up not going to class, because we had a jazz kid who just showed up in our common room when he was supposed to be in class, and he would just be there.
Here we go.
Yeah, so what's up with jazz?
This is call-out hours.
Yes, I mean, what is up with jazz?
Very fun.
For those of y'all who, like, don't know, Jazz got in, like, deep shit for weed this year. So that was, like, a whole thing. But, yeah, it's a stereotype of, like, jazz kids where they just are never in class.
I mean, you know...
Class don't know her. I've never been to a rehearsal in my life. And...
I mean, when your entire genre is improvisation,
the thing is with this is, my brother is a jazz musician. He doesn't go to our school, but my brother is a jazz musician, and he falls under, like, the same stereotype. So I don't think it's just kids at our school. But, like, if you're wandering the halls during class, or, like, if you're just going to the bathroom, chances are you're gonna see a jazz kid while you're going to the bathroom during class. Because they're just, like, they like to wander. I don't know what it is about them. They just...
They're free-range musicians.
For some reason. And it's, like, most of the time they don't even hold rehearsals. Mr. Steed's just like, yeah, you guys can just go practice. And then they don't end up practicing, they just wander. So, there's your jazz... I can give you, like, stereotypes of each of the little subsects of instrumental, if you wish.
I mean, go for it, dude.
There was your jazz. Strings are, like, stereotypes of being uptight. Well, especially upper strings, but, like, lower strings are supposed to be, like, chill. And they are. But, strings are, like, they always do their work. They, like, do stuff in an orderly fashion. They go to class and, like, stuff. Yeah. And then there's just, like, the opposite end of the spectrum is jazz, where they just, like, don't do anything, I guess.
So would you say that, like, strings players are tightly wound?
I hate you so much.
Eli's gonna murder me.
I'm gonna reach through the screen and strangle you like it's The Ring and I'm the girl crawling out of your TV.
I gotta say, you're a little less intimidating. More than a little less intimidating.
Eli's very intimidating. I don't know what you're talking about.
Eli, to me, is less... I have heard Eli make that sound, like, multiple times. Like, at this point, they cannot frighten me.
I love how I said that, and then at the very beginning of this episode, I also said that Eli is small bean.
They contain multitudes. But yeah, go ahead and try, you coward, you absolute bastard. I fucking dare you to try to kill me. Go ahead and see if I can be killed.
Yeah, once again, Caroline and I are stuck in an endless cycle of neither being able to defeat the other, so... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and now I can never escape Eli's wrath, because I think I've just really incurred it. Anyway, you were saying about string players.
They're known for, like, knowing what they're doing and, like, being on top of their shit, and also, like, woodwinds fall into that category, and then there's, like, in between strings and jazz, more on, like, the jazz end of the spectrum, is brass, where, who, by the way, like to empty their spit valves on the ground, which is disgusting. Whenever I'm setting up for rehearsal, I have to, like, it's like a minefield. I have to, like, dodge the spit piles when I'm, like, moving chairs around. It's absolutely disgusting.
Welcome to the age of COVID, y'all.
Which is not a stereotype. It's just, like, a thing that they do. And I'm not complaining, it's just facts. Like, that's just a thing that I have to deal with. But they're like, people, especially string players, like to complain about the fact that brass people do not practice. Which is not exactly a lie, but is also, like, not acknowledging the fact that the string players don't practice either. So, I mean...
You gotta practice what you preach.
And then I don't really know anything about mariachi, so I can't really give you, like, an overview. I don't really know any of them. I have, like, a few friends in mariachi, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm thinking of 3 people right now.
Mm-hmm.
They are an entity beyond our knowledge.
Mm. Fascinating.
They exist in their own mariachi room. Also, side note, that I have to, like, complain about the fact that string players at our school don't have a room. Excuse me. Why do our classes have to be in the mariachi room? The fact that we have classes that need to be in someone else's room proves the fact that we need a room and we don't have one.
Oh no, you don't have classes in a place that is designed for you? Oh no, I can't imagine what that could have been like, having been a creative writer, and in a conference room, and a temp building for 2 years.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm kidding.
What I'm saying is, we have this whole, like, new building where everyone's supposed to have their space, and we don't have our space. We don't have a place to go.
I mean, what, creative writing is still, or we were, until we consolidated, we were still short a classroom for a workshop for a time.
Yep.
That was fun. That's why one of the workshops is in the office, straight up, is because...
Yeah, my workshop was in the office because it was 6 whole people. Yeah.
And
6 whole people as opposed to, like, 6 halflings?
Halflings are whole people, how dare you?
6 humanoid entities.
Entire humanoid entities, like there wasn't just, a few limbs hanging around.
Yeah. I had the giant workshop the first semester, so I can't speak to that.
Fun!
Screenwriting.
Yeah.
Speaking of waiting till the last minute to get stuff done, I'm
For
pretty sure I wrote... Yeah, I'm pretty sure I wrote every script in that class. So we have workshop on Tuesdays, right? I think I wrote every single script, the studio time the day before it was due. Like, flash, that's how you do it. And you don't edit it, and you just turn it in, and you're like, yeah, this is coming from Mix. I have to do things as soon as they're assigned, or I get anxious. Correct, but not with screenwriting, because I could not bring myself to do it any time before the day before it was due. And that was me and every other junior screenwriter sat in the center area, and we were all writing our scripts, and we were like, yeah, we need a better plan than this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have studio time, is so we can do that.
Yep. That was 100% the intention, was to make more procrastination possible.
Yeah, I wrote a full 16 pages 2 hours before the deadline. Did not edit it.
I remember I had my practice period when you guys had studio time at some points, and I would just be in the stairwell, fully, like, aware of the fact that it was 1 floor above where you were, and you could hear everything that I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, like, that made me so uncomfortable, especially when I started, like, talking to you guys more, because I was like, oh, like, these people that I know can hear me. What am I doing?
Yeah, you have to subject yourself to the mortifying ordeal of being known.
And also of Ellis going and yelling at instrumentalists, which is still the funniest thing in the world to me.
Wait, when was that? What did he do?
We didn't go and yell at them, but he did go and, like, glare at them. I think it was, like, an ensemble or something, but they were playing just in the hallway, like, the loudest that they could possibly be. And we were trying to get something done, but that meant that everyone who was sitting out in the center area could just hear this incredibly loud music filtering down, because, like, there's not a lot of sound differentiation between those 2 floors. And Ellis was just, like, Ellis got very upset that they wouldn't stop.
Yeah,
it was probably their practice period, and they were probably just trying to rehearse, and you guys were just bullying them.
They weren't practicing music, they were just messing around really loudly. Like, because it wasn't a song. You would hear, like, 10 seconds, and then a bunch of noise of just people talking, and Ellis was like, please don't yell at the top of your lungs.
I've seen people do that. I know which art department that is, and I'm not going to say which one it is, because that's a call-out post, but, I will put it in the Skype chat, which one that is, just for you guys' benefit.
Alright, cool. We know the tea.
Yeah. But yeah, I was gonna say, if we're gonna take a zigzag back to maybe music in general, but just, like, we kind of talked about what music we listen to, but I was, like, favorite songs, favorite album, that kind of thing. Like, if your taste in music was, or, like, what things do you most enjoy musically? Not just, like, general, but specific songs or albums or pieces. Yeah. I was gonna say, a song that I'm currently obsessed with is the song No Children by the Mountain Goats. I don't listen to the Mountain Goats, but the song is so, like, just desperately unhappy. But it sounds like someone just singing normally, but they're so desperately, like, I hate myself and my life and everything, and it's such just, like, a cathartic song to listen to. And it's also very funny because it has the word hope in, like, 75% of the lines, and it still manages to be one of the most, like, downtrodden songs I've ever heard.
How do people read me as an emo? I don't get it.
I don't know
I know why people
that.
with my emotions and my things, but I think you also have to understand that I perceive myself as just this, like, 5'4" person who wears oversized t-shirts and is just generally there. Like, I don't understand how people form impressions of me. I don't think that, like, my concept of myself is not fully formed enough to, like, form an impression of.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Mamma Mia soundtrack slaps any day of the week. It's just happy music, and it's fun, and I have a podcast, or playlist of, like, I don't know, like 50 songs from both movie soundtracks that I just put on shuffle whenever I'm, like, want a little mood boost. And yeah.
Vibes.
Yeah, I just kind of vibe out. A lot of my stuff is, like, pop, and then a lot of it's, musical theater, and then I guess some kind of rock and roll-ish songs. Or not rock, but I guess, like, pop punk or something. Yeah. Which I feel like tracks with who I am.
I was gonna say, kind of on that note, and maybe this is just to start a discussion, but, I think both of you listen to more, like, Broadway musical soundtracks than I do. Well, I pretty much know that both of you do, because I don't. Well, I listen to none, and you listen to at least some. So my question is, what's the appeal of listening to a soundtrack? Like, why is that good? I don't get it. I've never got it. I would like someone to explain to me why that appeals to them.
It's an audiobook, but with pizzazz.
I like musicals because it's telling a story through music, which, for those of you who don't know, I'm good at reading emotions with people, which the flip side of that is I have a really hard time reading emotions in art pieces, specifically music and visual art. Someone could present something, like, that they drew to me and be like, this has an emotion to it, what do you think it is? And I'd be like, I cannot tell you, do not know, brain empty, I don't, like, I can't. So just being able to listen to something all the way through and have a whole, like, storyline in it with emotions and, like, people going through things through music, that appeals to me because of just, like, who I am, and just being able to experience a story or someone else's life through, like, an album of show tunes.
Yeah. And I think for me as well, like, I think the general rule in musical theater is, like, talk until you can't, you're too emotional to talk anymore, and then you sing until you can't, too emotional to sing anymore, and so you dance. And so I feel like that kind of point of, like, strong emotions in song, good, yes. Very cathartic. Also just, like, they tend to be more dramatic and more direct with their storylines, which I as a fiction writer appreciate, because I like things having narratives, and I like things being kind of more direct, and those are both things that musical theater songs have. Also, just, like, how dramatic they can be and how ridiculous they can be once you look up the story to whatever you're listening to. Because in Natasha Peer and the Great Comet of 1812, there's a whole song called Dust and Ashes, and it's just this guy being like, I'm gonna die having never experienced love, and it's gonna be this whole thing. And it, like, you could totally visualize him doing jazz hands to this very sad, like, existential thing. And it's also, like, you look up the story, he's being completely dramatic, because he's like, I'm gonna die soon. And, like, he's not gonna die. He's singing this after he was in a duel, but he wasn't even shot. Like, he's not even remotely injured. He's just being dramatic that way. Which is the funniest fucking thing. But yeah, just like...
My thing is, it's cool, especially with, sung-throughs, which is, there's a difference between a sung-through and, like, just a musical. Some examples of sung-throughs are Hamilton and Les Mis are the two that I can think of off the top of my head. And what that means is, I think, to qualify as it being a sung-through, it has to be at least 90%, like, songs.
Mm-hmm.
And, for Hamilton, there's one spoken word in the whole show. So, that one's definitely it. I think with Les Mis, there's a couple. And so, just listening to those by themselves, you can get the whole story just from listening to the soundtrack, whereas with, like, normal musicals, you have to, like, watch the show or go and look up the plot, but it's still cool just to go through that, but I would say that I prefer listening to ones where you can, like, the whole freaking story is in the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, I don't know if it's still happening, I feel like I should like musicals more, because I'm supposed to be writing a musical. But
oh gosh, yeah, I forgot about that.
I have not managed that yet. Which is
shout out to Sam. That is his musical that you're writing. So
yeah, well, that I'm writing
with air quotes.
that you're quote unquote writing.
I mean, Eva and I have not been able to get together and have not like spoken over Skype about it for some months now, because we have like the first act planned, I guess, and then we're at like a point in the second act where the two of us are in an ongoing debate about what should happen with the characters. But that is neither here nor there. That is something Eva and I just need to sit down and talk about.
Alright, well, I need
How
to go...
are you doing that?
I need to go do something real quick, so y'all can talk shit about me for the next few minutes. I'll be right back.
Oh.
I was just gonna ask you, is it that you and Eva are writing the story and Sam's writing the like, music on top of it?
So it's that Eva and I are writing the story, and so, yeah, Eva and I are making whatever the story behind, or I don't know if this is still gonna happen, but the idea is that Eva and I are gonna write the story, and we're in charge of the book of the musical, and I think we're in charge, so we're conceptualizing each song, like, just what the song is supposed to be, and we're in charge of the book, and then Sam is in charge of the actual music, and I think most of the lyrics, but I also was like, hey, Eva is an actual lyricist who, like, writes lyrics, and that's something that she does, and so to have one of the writer, I thought it was important to have someone who would be able to write for both the book and the lyrics, which is why I co-opted Eva into the project. Yeah. It's based off of a play that I, like, so it was a 10-minute play that I got halfway through writing, and then I was like, I wasn't happy with where it was halfway through writing, so I kind of shelved that idea for a while, and then when Sam asked me if I would be interested in this project, I took that idea off the shelf, dusted it off, and I showed it to Eva, and we've worked on taking that and making it into a musical and making it into a plot that can actually, like, sustain itself. Yeah. It's not...
That's a really cool project. I don't know, I didn't talk to you a whole lot about it, like, when we were at school, but...
Yeah, I think part of the reason why I wasn't talking a whole lot about it is because it's not really at, like, a point where I can't. Like, it's still so, like...
I mean, Sam came to me and was like, hey, I'm writing a musical, and I was like, that's really cool, like, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, I've got these two other people, like, helping me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the extent that I, like, knew about it.
Yeah. No, it's like, I don't know, it's so, like, the story itself, I think, is so, like, still so small, and it's almost, like, it feels very breakable right now, I think, is the problem, because it's just, like, nothing's really written for it, and it's, like, still evolving, but I'm excited to, once school starts, and kind of in conjunction with working on senior shows, to, like, get back to work on it and hopefully fully conceptualize it into something that can actually be, like, written and worked on in a more full way.
What can we say about Caroline while she's gone?
What can we say about Caroline? What audacious claims can I personally make about Caroline Hayden? I don't know. I'm thinking, but I have a lot of. I mean, I probably have several things I could embarrass Caroline with, but I think I've also brought them up, and then I don't know where the line is where it's like this is not an okay thing to say, so I would rather say nothing than like potentially say something that's not good. Yeah. I would like to say, I never acknowledged it on screen. I found where Caroline accused me of being a furry, which, you know...
I texted her about that when I listened to it. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
What is that? And she was just like, yeah, rip.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, that was a different joke, but yeah. We didn't say anything embarrassing about you, Caroline.
Oh, damn.
I am bringing up the fact
we were
that you
trying
told me
to.
that I was a furry, which is not true. And also, in that instance, it would have been a monster fucker, which is also not true.
See,
Say what you
I
want,
texted
people
Caroline
know.
when I was listening to the... Caroline, you remember I texted you when I was listening to that. I was like, is Eli a furry?
Yeah.
And you were just like, yeah, rip. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
thanks.
This is
Rip to
not
you.
accurate information, but also, you know, just generally.
Well, see,
Sounds
the
like
problem
exactly
is that
what-
I didn't text
what
you about it
someone who is
because you
actually
wouldn't
a
have
monster fucker and a
answered
furry
me.
would say.
You know, I mean, I think
Eli
like,
already
this is
established
all
that they're not a
undercut
monster fucker because they can't be a fucker
by
of
the
anything.
fact, yeah, by the fact that as an asexual person, I can't be either of those things in their truest definitions. But also, why? I mean, I don't know. I feel such confusion anytime someone... Because I've had someone who was a furry try to explain to me, like, why they were a furry, and my brain turned off. It was like, I can't process what you're saying to me right now.
Do not
Like,
understand.
Yeah, my brain was just like, Windows shutdown noise.
You blue screened.
I blue screened. I error 404'd.
I've also been accused of being a furry by Caroline, which is
What?
also false.
Wait, huh?
You should
Maybe,
know what
Caroline,
I'm talking about.
I think you
I
are
forget what I
deflecting,
say
maybe?
sometimes.
Because I think maybe, Caroline, you are deflecting, and you are hiding the fact that you
Ooh,
are a
that
furry
you
by
are a
calling
furry.
everyone around you a furry.
But I've been open about where I am on the monster fucker Kinsey scale, which is humanoid. Not fuzzy,
That's
humanoid.
true.
I am open about the fact that I would totally be into a vampire should the opportunity present itself. If I were a furry at that point, I would have proudly disclosed so, and I feel like that would put me up a little bit further on the monster fucker in terms of what is and isn't considered humanoid. So that's my rebuttal to that. But yeah, I have no clue what you're referring to, Gray. I'm sorry.
I'm putting it in the chat.
Alright, let's see. I mean, once I see it, I'm probably gonna remember it. Oh, it's not loading for me. Tragic.
Tragic. Caroline may
Anyways,
never know. Or she'll have to find out later.
Yeah. I'll see it later, I'll be like, oh yeah.
Eli, did you laugh because you read it?
I mean, I was gonna ask you about the plant music that you talked about a while ago.
Oh yeah.
I talked about plant music?
No, Caroline on another episode was talking about plant music.
Yeah.
What?
I've talked about plant music
What?
twice. I don't know, man. It's just good it's just funky little synth vibes that are very chill to listen to and just kind of unwinds my brain for a bit, you know? Yeah, I just get in that druid mindset. I will clarify. So, Mort Garson's Mother Earth's Plantasia I found and was absolutely delighted by just because, like, it's a whole album of stuff for plants, and the comment section on that, like, album stream is just so nice. Because it's just people making plant jokes and, like, just vibing out. And yeah, I found that a while ago, looking for Adventure Zone music, because I think Mort Garson also did the original Adventure Zone theme, or something like that. And so yeah, I just listened through that, and I was like, yeah, I'm playing a druid in D&D, this fits. And then a while later, I was looking through Louis Zong's stuff, because I wanted some music to write to, and then I saw a little greenhouse thing, his greenhouse mini album. I was like, alright, that looks cute. And then I listened to that, and I wrote about another druid. This is not the same druid that I'm playing for D&D. This is not a druid I am playing for D&D at all. It's just a druid I'm writing a story about. But yeah, plant music makes for good stories about plant magic, I guess. Is my thing. I don't know. I recommend both of them. They're chill.
Sorry, I had to... my school computer's doing something dumb.
No.
That's neither here nor there.
I mean, when is it not doing something dumb? It's a school computer.
This is true.
I hate the fact that we have to use the data drive, because that means that, like, all the things... It's not important. It's just a thing that I gotta deal with. Brain empty, someone else talk while I figure out what's going on with my computer.
Alright, cool. I don't know,
Do you have any music-related burning questions?
So what exactly is a woodwind, I guess? I don't know. What counts?
I did not realize I was gonna have to explain this. I probably should have explained this earlier.
That's fine.
So go ahead and, like, put in the timestamps, like, me explaining the types of instruments for people who don't...
No, it's chill. Like, I think I know...
No.
Flute is one of them, yes?
So woodwinds are... The symphonic woodwinds are flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon. And I think that's all of them.
Okay.
I might be missing one. And the other woodwinds are... Things that are also considered woodwinds are saxophones, and, like, bass clarinets, contrabassoons, etc. Brass is, the other band instruments, which are, like, trumpet, trombone, tuba, euphonium. So, trumpet, trombone, and tuba are the, and French horn are the symphonic brass, and then also euphonium is non-symphonic. My dad was a euphonium player in high school. There's other ones that aren't, but I don't know what they are. And then strings are like violin, viola, cello, and bass. And then percussion is like anything else that's like in the back of the room, like marimba, bass drum, snare drum, like all that stuff. Triangle. Everyone knows the triangle.
Yep.
And then a piano is a piano. And that's about it. And then there's the mariachi instruments, which I don't know anything about those, so I'm not even going to try to explain. I know there's guitars, and that's about it. There's, like, the giant, like, thing with the round back. I don't know what it's called, but it's the bass.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I'm, like, 84% sure that there's a difference between symphony and orchestra, but I've also never been able to fully nail that down, so Number one, is it a thing I should be concerned about mixing up? Like, will people get offended if I say, oh, you're in symphony, and they're actually in orchestra, or vice versa? Or
No. They're essentially the same thing. It's just that orchestra can be used to refer to both a symphony orchestra and a string orchestra, whereas symphony can only be used to be referred to as symphony orchestra. The difference between a string orchestra and symphony orchestra is string orchestra is just the, 5-section strings, which is violin 1, violin 2, viola, cello, bass. And you can use orchestra to describe that, or string orchestra. Do not call that a symphony, though, because symphony is, by definition, a string orchestra plus woodwinds, brass, and percussion.
Oh.
So you can use orchestra to describe a symphony, you can use symphony to describe a symphony, but the main thing is don't call a string orchestra a symphony, because it's not.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Yeah, I've played piano.
Education, man.
I've played piano for about 10 years now, and I'm still, we're getting better at sight reading, but it's, like, the whole world of, like, music and musicians and stuff is something that I've never really broken into, so this is really fascinating.
There's a little bit of, like, a disconnect between certain, like, setups of symphonies, because in order to explain this, I have to explain different eras of classical music. So, there are 3 eras that I'm going to talk about, which are the classical, romantic, and 20th century. The classical era is from 1750 to 1820, and the romantic era is from 1820 to 1900, and then 20th century is the 20th century. Classical symphonies are a lot smaller than 20th century symphonies. They started getting bigger as people started, like, experimenting more, like, doing kind of more their own thing with music. So a classical symphony does not normally include trombones or tubas in the brass section. An example of one of the great classical symphonies that everyone would know is Beethoven 5. I'm sure that you've heard it. The first 3 movements of Beethoven 5 don't have trombones or tubas. I don't think any of the movements have tubas, but we'll add a correction corner if I'm wrong. So in the fourth movement, the low brass comes in, which I believe is just trombones, but again, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
And it's just like this huge arrival point of, like, trombones were not usually used in classical symphonies at that time, and so that was kind of like a breakthrough of him adding trombones in the last movement. And it's a huge, like, entrance, because it's the third movement goes directly into the fourth movement, and so you can definitely tell when the fourth movement's there, because, like, the low brass comes in, and it's, like, great.
Mm-hmm.
It's grand. It's and then, so, the difference between classical and romantic symphonies is the addition of the low brass and a little bit of an expansion on, like, percussion section. And then as you get more into the 20th century, you get more of a variety in woodwinds, which is, I think they added, like, people in the romantic era were more likely to use contrabassoons, which is a bassoon but, like, bigger, and it's lower, and bass clarinets, and English horns, which are a oboe. It sounds like English horn sounds like it should be a variation of French horn, right?
Yeah.
It's not. It's a big oboe.
Mood.
And the thing with the English horn is that it's a big oboe, but it's in the same key as French horn. Because woodwinds and brass instruments are in, like, different keys from the standard key. The standard key is C. French horns are in F. Trumpets are in E flat or B flat most of the time. Clarinets are in A. I think flutes are in C. And trombones and tubas are in C. But it's, like, it's super confusing. I don't know anything about transposing, because sometimes you'll get a trumpet part that is trumpet in C, and the trumpet player has to transpose because they're playing on an E-flat trumpet.
Oh no. That sounds complicated.
So, yeah, that's why I'm not a brass player. But,
Could never be me.
One of the many reasons. Also, I just, like, can't blow air into an instrument for that long. So the addition of, like, different keys of instruments and bigger expansion on the percussion section between romantic and 20th century. Because in 20th century, people were, like, starting to go completely off the rails and started adding different effects for, like, strings and just breaking every single classical rule that had been, like, in existence up to that point. 20th century's wild, man. If you ever get a chance, listen to Shostakovich's A String Quartet. I can't even describe it. Just, I'll send you a link to one that I like, and you can put it in the episode description.
I'm excited.
Oh my god, that string quartet is just, you just have to listen to it. That's just kind of an example of, like, classical music of the 20th century just kind of going everywhere, especially the second movement.
Yeah, that's so wild. I love that. Or just, like, 20th century was, like, kind of like just abstract art, but for music, ? In terms of classical. Like,
yep, pretty much. Like,
pearls.
It started in the Romantic era because there's a difference between what's called a programmatic symphony and I forgot what the other one's called, but either a symphony that follows a structure, such as, like, Brahms, and, like, a symphony that is based on something else, or is a story, or anything like that, which an example of that would be the Manfred Symphony by Tchaikovsky, the Symphony Fantastique by, I think that's Berlioz, and just people started writing, they would call it a symphony, but it's not, like, following the normal order of what a symphony is, and they would be telling a story with it. The Manfred Symphony is based on a poem. Then Symphony Fantastique is, I don't know what that one's based off of, but it has 5 movements instead of 4. They don't follow, like, what each movement's supposed to be in a symphony, and they each tell their own story. The 4th movement of Symphony Fantastique is, in my opinion, the best one, and is about a prisoner marching to the stake for execution.
Damn.
So
that's rough.
You can also link that. I'll send you a link to that.
Alright, awesome. Yeah, I will link to...
And it's so cool, because, like, you can clearly tell what it's about just by listening to it. So it's really cool what people started doing with their music in Romantic and 20th century era. Like, also another topic, back to Shostakovich's A String Quartet, that quartet is actually a suicide note, in which you can clearly hear that in the second movement, and just like throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with Shostakovich is he has this motif where he puts his name in his music. And for anyone who knows about notes, that is the motif D, E flat, C, B natural. That is, it's in Russian, those notes are D, S, C, H.
Oh.
So Dmitri, which is his first name, and then SCH is the first three letters of Shostakovich. That motif shows up in almost every single one of his pieces. It's basically like if a visual artist signed their name at the bottom of the thing that they just painted. It's like Shostakovich putting his name in his music. That thing is like, it shows up in every single movement of the A string quartet. He's saying like, this is about me. And it shows up, it's like everywhere. Most of the time it's just like in one spot in one of his pieces. In that string quartet, it is all over the place. And if I can, I will link a timestamp as well as with that the recording, just to show you like when it shows up a bunch. Okay. Which will probably be in the second movement, because it's, oh my god, it's like you can't listen to the second movement without running into it.
So yeah, I'll plug just right around here, we do have timestamp docs, and all of this stuff will most definitely be there. So if you're not listening to this along with the timestamp doc to figure out what all this cool music is, what are you doing? Go check that out. Go check the episode description right now. Click on the link. Go do it. Go look. Go see what we're talking about. It'll be so good.
I'm gonna have to keep a tab of all the things that I talk about, because I'm not gonna remember all the things I need to send you later.
I will, when I'm making the timestamp doc, towards the middle of next week, I will send you all the notes, because I write it out before I,
Oh, there goes Eli.
Oh,
Guess we can talk shit about Eli now.
Yeah, time to talk shit about Eli. Eli left without straight up just announcing that they were going. Oh, damn it, they're back! And we didn't say anything. Oh well.
Eli's furry.
You're gonna have fun editing later.
I hate you so much. Okay.
It wasn't I this time, okay?
Still hate you. No.
I don't. How can you hate this face?
Are you referring to me or to the bastard?
Well, I was referring to you.
Okay.
Because.
No, I'm talking to.
Wait, who's the bastard in this situation?
I'm referring to Eli as the bastard. The bastard is Eli. I was talking to you, Gray, as to. You were talking about
Skype is
this
confusing,
face.
Lads.
Spider's crawling directly towards me. Fuck off. Go eat a mosquito. This is not your land.
Just put it in a shoebox and leave it alone.
Caroline, if it bothers you that much, just kill it.
No. I'll open the door and see if that lets it out. Dude, freedom. It's right there.
This is the theme of this episode. It's just Caroline dealing with this spider.
Caroline and the spider.
Sir,
meanwhile, you can hear the about 15 minutes where I had to check out to try and free up enough space on my drive to save this audio file.
Sir,
I'm not sure that was 15 minutes.
That wasn't.
I don't think I talked about Shostakovich for 15 minutes.
No.
I don't know. Time stops being real when I have to deal with files on my computer.
And a foray into romantic music would not be complete without my absolute favorite composer, who's called Rachmaninoff.
Ooh.
I did a whole, report on him in sophomore year.
Ooh.
Because at our school, we have music theory classes, and second year music theory is also music history, which is how I know all of these things about time periods, and I have the time periods of all of the music, eras. We were supposed to memorize them, so I have them memorized.
Ooh.
The other two are medieval, which is where Gregorian chants were.
Yeah.
That's why I said, don't mess with them. Fun fact, we had to write a Gregorian chant in sophomore year.
Oh my god.
That was horrible. So medieval's from 400 AD to 1400, and then the Renaissance is from 1400 to 1600, and then Baroque, which is one that you guys would probably know, was from 1600 to 1750.
Yeah.
Because the Baroque era ended when the great composer of the Baroque era, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, is Bach
Mhm.
when he died. That's when really the Baroque era ended.
F in the
But
chat.
the thing
F in the chat
it
for
was
Johannes
like
Bach.
it was 250 years ago.
Too soon.
Oh, 270
Yes,
years ago.
still. F in the chat. I mean, F in the chat for Gilgamesh, and that was like
That's true.
4,000 years ago. Major F for Enkidu.
So
he didn't deserve
the
what he
reason
got.
I wanted to... Hey guys, this is Gray with a correction corner. In this section, I'm talking about the Russian composer Sergei Rachmaninoff. First, I said that he lived his entire life in the 20th century. That is not true. He was born in 1873. What I meant by this statement was that most of the volume of his work was written in the 20th century or in the transition between the Romantic and 20th century eras of classical music. Second, I talked about his depression as a result of the failure of his first symphony and first piano concerto. I said that when he came out of his depression, he wrote both his second piano concerto and second symphony, and both are dedicated to his therapist. At the time of recording, I couldn't remember his therapist's name. His name is Nikolai Dahl. Part of this statement was incorrect, as only the second piano concerto is dedicated to Dahl. In addition, the second piano concerto premiered in 1901, and the second symphony did not premiere until 1906, 5 years after the overwhelming success at the premiere of the second piano concerto. Thanks, and now back to the podcast. The reason I wanted to bring up Rachmaninoff is because he's very interesting, because he lived his entire life in the 20th century, but the majority of his pieces are written in the Romantic style, so he's generally considered a Romantic composer, even though he lived in a time that was not Romantic.
What a hipster.
Not that people didn't have romance in the 20th century, just like, it's not...
No, the 20th century was thoroughly unromantic.
Yeah,
they had
it was
the Hays
the
Code.
1900s.
No one was doing anything like...
people were not allowed to get married in the 20th century. So the thing that's interesting about him is that he learned from I think Rimsky-Korsakov, who was a Russian composer in the Romantic era. And he also the interesting thing with Rachmaninoff, and it's a life lesson you can take from him, is that he wrote his first symphony when he was 19.
Mm-hmm.
And upon its premiere, they performed it and it failed. Like, it did not do well. And that, along with his first piano concerto, which a piano concerto, or a violin concerto, or viola concerto, any concerto is a solo instrument on top of either a string or symphony orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So his piano concertos are all piano solos on top of symphony orchestras. Both his first symphony and his first piano concerto failed, and he went into, I think, a 4-year depression, where he couldn't write anything, and he was just like, damn, like, my stuff failed, everybody hates it, what am I gonna do? And then he, wrote his second symphony and second piano concerto, and dedicated them both to his therapist, just do not remember his therapist's name. And
you, Paul.
upon their premiere, they did really, really well, and were, like, huge successes, and then he went on to write a third symphony and a third and fourth piano concerto before his death. And now the first piano concerto and first symphony are part of, like, the standard classical rep, so, like, they're well known and they do well now. The thing is, the very last piece he ever wrote, which is called his Symphonic Dances, it's a 3-movement, dance thing, and, the end of his first movement is the motif from the very beginning of his first symphony, the opening line, the opening melody of his first symphony. At the very end of the first movement of his symphonic dances, he puts that back in there. It's in a different key, but it's in there as a way of saying, like, hey, I kind of, like, made peace with this failing, and, like, it's good now. So, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Life lesson is, if you fail, it's fine, because you can just do it again.
Yeah.
You can do other things, and they will do well.
Dedicate your pieces to your therapist, and then you'll have astronomical success, is the lesson we've learned. Sorry, I shouldn't make jokes when people are taking drinks of water. That's a mistake. I shouldn't try to do a funny.
You and my dad. Every time my dad makes a joke, it's while I'm trying to drink something, and it's terrible. Speaking of my dad, here's a segue for you.
Okay, also...
one of the most insane pieces of musical creation, because it is music, but it is not just, like, straight instruments, is the Ring Cycle, which is my dad's favorite opera.
Oh my god.
But, like,
we couldn't have done this episode without talking about that!
The Ring Cycle is... It's, like...
It's
I think
18
it's
hours
18
long.
hours, and it's
It has to be performed in 3 parts.
Yeah.
3 parts of each 6 hours.
Yeah, it's all about...
Wagner was wild, man. Wagner made his own instrument.
Wagner was out here.
There's literally a Wagner tuba.
But yeah, no, the ring cycle is a bunch of, like, Norse/Germanic entities just having a time. But yeah, my dad talks about the ring cycle so much, and so I've never heard it, but I know that it's really long. And I know that one German or Austrian king, loved it so much, he was like, oh, not even the ring cycle, he loved Wagner so much that there's a castle where, like, inside every room is, like, an ode to a piece of Wagner's work, because he was, like, so in love with the way that Wagner wrote. But that's one of my favorite stories, is, like, you know, sometimes you're such a good composer that one of your stands straight up constructs a castle to praise your work.
And I mean, K-pop Twitter, do your thing. Get on this. Like, can you even call yourself a true fan if you haven't dedicated a room in your castle to, like, your icon's favorite, like, your fave song? Like, what are you doing?
I believe that the thing with the ring cycle is that also it includes the very famous Ride of the Valkyries. I could be wrong. I believe it's, the Ride of the that's part of the ring cycle. What I will do is I will link a very informative video that is the ring cycle in 2 minutes, and it's somebody explaining the entire story of the ring cycle in 2 minutes. That will be in the episode description if you're interested to know the entire ring cycle. But yeah, my friend, one of my friends from school, Maddie, shout out to Maddie. Don't know if she's ever going to listen to this, but her mom, when we were, I think, in 8th grade, was like, being required to, like, go to performances of the ring cycle by her choir. Mm-hmm. And so Maddie was just, like, living the ring cycle for a while. And her mom was going to, like, these 6-hour performances of the ring cycle. I was like, dang, we couldn't have gotten through this episode without talking about that. Other epic, very long things by classical composers include Handel's Messiah, which the full thing I think is 5 hours. Mm-hmm. And it's a mass. It's a Christmas mass. I used to go to see it. The Houston Symphony puts on a production of the Messiah every year. Mm-hmm. And I used to go to see it every year. I don't anymore. I can't handle it anymore. It's too much.
You can't handle it? I'll leave.
Also, speaking of your dad, if I remember correctly, I believe that your dad and I play the same instrument.
Yes. My dad was a violin player, for a time. He still has his violin, but it don't work no more, cause it has not been used in, like, let's see.
Decades?
I am now the age he was so in, like, 36 years, he has not been using that violin, but there's a really, this will not be linked, but you're just gonna have to take my word for it. There's a really great photo of my dad with, like, a bowl cut, holding his violin and making a face at my grandmother from the stage of his, like, I think it must have been his middle school, because he doesn't look like a high schooler in this
sounds really
photo. Cute. But yeah, I have that photo of my dad, and it's just him, and, like, I know that I make that same face, but it's weird seeing it on, like, a young version of my dad. I can't do it. I can't, because I can only do it when I'm not thinking about it.
What circumstances lead up to the face?
It's just, like, mostly when my dad, says something, and I'm like, I can't argue with you because you're wrong, but also I can't vocalize why you're wrong. There's a face I make to tell him, like, that information. And, yeah, it's like, he's making that same face in the photo.
I know the face.
But, yeah, it's
I think
you're wrong,
very
but
funny.
I can't vocalize why you're wrong face.
That face has been made at me.
Yeah. But yeah, no, my dad was a violin
I don't
player.
argue with you, so I don't think I've ever seen the face, but,
Get in a fight
I know
with
it
Eli,
exists.
it's a fun time.
No! I think I would not enjoy that.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't like confrontation, I'm going to say, don't pick a fight with me.
You said you wanted to kill me not 20 minutes ago.
That's not, because only if it evolves into a fight. If I come into your room in the middle of the night and assassinate you, that's not confrontation. That's just an assassination attempt.
You said you were going to reach through the screen and kill me
I
the
did.
moment.
Well, you know, I guess maybe the actual answer is I don't like verbal confrontation, physical confrontation. I'm
What
fine
is
with.
I'm going to reach through the screen and kill you if not a verbal threat?
Well, it's a verbal threat, but it's a verbal threat of physical confrontation.
Okay.
Also, you know, Caroline, you have never once in your whole life set off my fear response. So...
This is fair.
Has anyone ever said, like, any human?
Yeah, no, definitely people have set off my fear response. Piper set off my adrenaline running response when she straight up chased me with no prompting all the way across Herman Park, which is the day I learned that I'm faster than Piper.
Good to know. I feel
like we were just talking about this, like, yesterday.
We're talking about it earlier, because that's why my dad thinks that I could beat Piper in a fight, is because I'm faster than her.
Oh.
No, I feel like you told me that story, like, yesterday, when we were, like, talking on the phone.
I don't know.
Perhaps. I don't know. It's a fun story.
It's a fun...
I do have an Eli dad fact that I know. Your dad really likes accordion music for some reason, and that's why you hate it?
Oh, yeah. So, in San Antonio, I don't know if they have this every year, but they have it some years. There's an accordion festival.
Mm-hmm.
And one year we were in San Antonio, and the accordion festival was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good time to say, I think much like you, Caroline, my dad is also, like, most interested in Gaelic, Old English, Old UK, myths, mythologies, the history of those places. And accordion music sounds a lot like Highland music. Accordions are something that's used in a lot of Highland music. So my dad has these 2 accordion CDs, which are Highland music played on accordions, and I think a couple have bagpipes. And I... It's just that it's... The accordion is a fine instrument if it's, like, you're listening to one song that has an accordion and then, like, no more. But when it's just accordion for, like, an hour and a half, and that's all that there is, and there's no break, and you're stuck in a car in the middle of nowhere, so there's no visual stimuli that's interesting, and the only things you can do are listen to this accordion song, you learn to hate accordion music really fast. So every time he brings out his accordion CDs, I die a little bit on the inside, because I'm so sick of those CDs. But then I find myself singing the song McPherson's Rant, cause it's a really catchy lyric song, but it's also accordion music, so I'm in, like, a catch-22 with it, where I love it because of the lyrics, but I hate it because it's on an accordion.
And your dad knows of
I
this
have an
antipathy
accordion
that you have towards accordions, correct?
Yes, I mean, it's not even antipathy towards all accordions in general, it's antipathy towards the specifically Highland music played on accordions on these 2 CDs. Yeah, he plays them specifically because he knows that I have a problem with them. Every time we're in the car...
I have an accordion-related story, also.
Ooh,
yeah, I'll finish it up. But every time we're in the car...
At my middle school, yeah.
I was just saying, every time we're on a road trip, he plays that music, and he plays one other CD with a song that I hate on it that I will get into after your accordion story.
Okay. So, my middle school, for those of you who, know what middle school I went to, oh boy, especially my 8th grade year, but, like, the whole time I was there, but especially when I was in 8th grade, our school had a huge problem with fights, where there would be, like, several fights a day. So, one morning, we were in the courtyard, and this giant, like, ring formed, and it looked like there was a fight. And so the administration came out and was like, what's going on? What is this fight? So they broke through, like, the giant crowd that, like, forms when there's a fight, apparently, in middle school. I never experienced that because I never did that. But, the administration came out, was like, what's going on? Who's fighting? And then it was just, this dude playing his accordion in the middle of the ring, and everybody was just, like, around him, watching him, and it was, like, just a thing.
It was just a performance.
And the administration was like, we literally thought there was a fight. Like, what's going on here? He was like, I'm just vibing, man. Just playing my accordion.
He interrupted his solo.
It was great. It was great. And then our 8th grade year, we had a talent show, which I will also tell my story about the talent show, but he was in the talent show playing his accordion. But I will tell my story about the talent show, because it doesn't have to do with the accordion after Eli's other accordion thing. Because my talent show thing's a nerd thing, so...
Okay. It's not an accordion thing. It's a road trip music thing, because the only time I ever have to listen to the songs on a road trip, there is, so I don't know who sings it, and I cannot specifically, but there's a very specific brand of song that I found, which is like songs that threaten someone, but they do it in like a quiet, creepy voice. And one of the songs is a song that I am told is not supposed to be creepy, but is 100% creepy, and it's the "I'll Be Watching You," which just straight up sounds like a stalker song.
Yeah.
And my grandmother's like, "No, it's a love song," and I'm like, "No, it's."
Is it the one that was in Stranger Things? Have either of you seen
Every
Stranger
step
Things?
you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking of.
So there's another one, and I don't remember what the name in it is, but it's a song where someone's repeating the name. And she sings in this like really quiet voice, and one of the lyrics that I remember is like, oh, it's Miriam, what a pretty name. I'm going to make you scream that while I kill you. So it's like this person threatening murder on someone else in like a very quiet, creepy voice, and it like the song gets under my skin. And so every time we're on a road trip, my dad plays that album and specifically tells me when that song's coming on if I'm listening to something else, because he knows that I hate it so much. Because it's just like, it's creepy and it's threatening violence, and I'm like, this is a bad time, Dad. Like, you have to acknowledge that this song is a bad time.
Straight up,
not fun. So yeah, that's my other road trip song. The things that I'm subjected to are that song, and accordion music, and those are the things that my dad tortures me with on road trips.
Alright, well, here's my talent show story. I think that Eli knows about this. I'm not sure that Caroline knows about this. Our 8th grade year, we were in NJHS, which is like baby NHS. And the NJHS thing was a talent show. We were putting on a talent show because they were like, we've never had a talent show at this school, so we want to do that. And so I was like, cool, I think we should do this. And so this is a call-out post to Ellis, because he was involved in this.
Call out to Ellis.
Shout out to Ellis. So we got a string quartet together, because, fun fact, Ellis also plays violin, of Nathan, who I mentioned earlier in this episode, Ellis, me, and this kid named Max Phillips. And, so we were like, what can we do for the talent show? And Nathan was like, well, we all like Undertale, right? And so what happened was, Nathan had a string quartet arrangement of Megalovania, which is, if you don't know Undertale, it is the Sans fight song. When you fight, it only happens in like one little section of the game, so you don't always fight him. But the hardest battle in the entire game, and Megalovania is the soundtrack for that. And we learned it, we memorized it, we got ourselves electronic instruments and a giant amp to plug them into, and Nathan edited a video segment of the Sans fight to project on the wall behind us, and we had blue lights on stage, and we played Megalovania for the talent show. And I believe that they didn't have awards, but people came up to us afterwards and were like, we really think that y'all should win. So I guess ours was like the audience favorite, but we didn't win anything. But
discrimination.
If anyone thought that I wasn't a nerd before me coming on here, that's false.
I mean, the podcast is called Hey Nerds, so that's kind of the barrier for entry for most people. If we don't deem you a nerd, you're just not going to be a guest on the podcast, is the thing.
You can't.
That's a requirement.
You can't, come on.
If you want to test your qualifications, that email is heynerdpodcast@gmail.com.
I should also mention that it was a string quartet, and people were like, wait, both Nathan and Ellis play violin. That's true. I played the viola part.
Huh.
That's the one and only time I've played viola, like, on stage for a thing.
Otherwise, it's just for fun instrument.
Because I was the only one of the three of us who could read alto clef, which is the clef that viola is written in. Because the three clefs for string instruments are treble, alto, and bass, but also tenor sometimes for cello, but, like, that's a thing. Of the three of us, of Nathan, Ellis, and I was the only one who could read alto clef, so I was like, sure, I'll play the viola part since I'm the only one who can read it. So there we go.
Nice. Yeah, I have neither a talent show story nor an accordion story, so I'm just learning new things about my friends.
I have an unrelated talent show. It's not related to music. I guess we technically sang, like, a little bit in it. So... Again, camp. The camp where all of the things happened. I think the same camp...
Here we go.
Where, like, the same session where the Gregorian chant thing happened. They have a talent show at the end, I guess. And my friend and I... We had the brilliant idea to do something that did not display talent, but just displayed weirdness. So we made the most, like, a 3-minute long, overly complicated handshake, that we just memorized and, like, remembered how to do.
Yeah, I've heard about this. I've heard this story.
Yeah, so the way this relates tangentially to music is that there were a lot of people had musical talents at this camp, and they were like, we are good at music and would like to show it off. Yeah. And my friend and I, we were like, we are bad at everything and would like to show that off. And we made it into, we passed, like, the clearance thing. We got accepted into talent show, I think, because they were like, we gotta break up these musical acts with something. These two weirdos are doing that. But the only funny thing that I have to say about that is this happened, like, 4 days after I had dislocated my knee. And so 4 days after I dislocated my knee, I was, like, actively going up and down and, like, doing weird things and putting too much weight on it. And my knee's fine, but, you know, can't take care of my own health. Further proof of that is the fact that I was, you know, overworking my knee so soon after an injury. But it's fun.
You were bad at music, but good at friendship. Which is something we should totally put on a t-shirt should we ever get a merch store.
Yes. It's just, caricatures of our two faces, and then the phrase, bad at music, good at friendship.
Visual artist friends, get on it. Oh my god.
No, we need a shirt that just says Eli's a furry.
No! No. No. I refuse to let anyone make money off that phrase. That's defamation.
We would be making money off it. We would capitalize off it.
Yeah, I refuse to let anyone, including myself, make money off of it. That's defamation. I will not stand for it. You
won't stand for this slander.
I will not stand for my already dirtied name to be slandered with the false information that I'm a furry.
Listeners at home,
there's a lot of other
incriminating
information.
Make that furry merch by emailing us at haynerdpodcast@gmail.com.
No.
I feel like this is the episode where you said the email more times than in any other episode.
We're going for a record, baby.
The only way that I will consent to that is if we can, like, that will happen if we can also sell shirts of the inverted, centaur. Not centaur.
That's fine. I'll consent to that. No, we put that. It's the same shirt. A concept.
On the front, it's a picture of the centaur, and on the back it says Eli's a furry.
Oh, we have our first merch design ever. It's
that's terrible.
Y'all need to.
I still don't want to sell merch that says Eli's a furry, but I feel like on that t-shirt, it's so obviously a joke. I still don't want to sell merch that says I'm a furry, because that feels like admitting to it, and that's, you know, not the vibes.
What if it's just 3 dashes, is a furry? Your name won't be tied
just
to
redacted is a. It just says redacted as a furry.
It's like, you'll have to listen to the podcast in order to know whose name is supposed to be right there.
I do think redacted as a furry is a very funny shirt.
That is a very funny shirt. You heard it here first, folks. If we ever make merch, that's what's going on. Cursed being.
That's our first shirt.
And a cursed phrase.
Yeah. It has, like, the little, you know, like, the tuxedo, or the pocket, like, that pocket-sized drawing of, the reverse centaur.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, on the left side.
It'll be over your heart is where you can bear that.
Yeah, where you can
creature.
bear the terrible drawing.
And on the back it just says redacted as a furry, and that's the greatest merch pitch I've ever heard.
Redbubble, get on it. Etsy, what are you doing?
All those sites that auto-generate t-shirts, you know,
get on
take it
bro.
And run.
I think we've run out of... I feel like now that we're pitching merch for a shop that we don't have, we should probably get to wrapping up the episode.
Yeah, I feel like we've maybe hit the natural limit.
Yeah.
That's like a math thing, isn't it?
You would know. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wait, isn't that something... I don't know.
That's like a calc thing.
Sure.
Well, I'll learn in like a month. It's fine. Yeah.
Well,
right.
I feel like most of this episode was not actually about music, but
we
you know
learned
what?
some things. We have some links in the timestamp description about music and things you can listen to.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Take it away, bro.
Thanks to not Saw Square Noise, but our very own guest Gray for the use of their song. I forget the song's name. What is the song's name?
It's called Quintet No. 1, and it's the first movement.
Quintet No. 1, first movement for our intro and outro. Potential sponsors, Blue Apron, HelloFresh,
NordVPN,
ExpressVPN,
Casper
Honey!
Linen, Brooklinen, Honey,
any of the numerous mattress shops whose ads I keep seeing.
Stitch Fix,
small businesses, large businesses. If you want to give us like $5 and have us talk about your business, we do it. We don't know how useful that would be, but we'll do it. Listeners, you should tell your friends, your conductors, your composers, your fellow band members. I don't know what other music-related things.
Marching band! Tell your marching band!
Tell your marching band.
Your pianos, your fortes, all that
Yeah.
stuff, all that jazz.
Tell your piano to listen to the podcast.
Tell your
I'm sure that your piano would enjoy it immensely.
Mm-hmm.
Tell your wandering jazz musicians to listen to this podcast.
Tell your jazz musicians to listen to this podcast while they're not in class.
Yeah. As Carolina said multiple times, you can email us fun stuff, serious stuff, information, all that at heynerdpodcast@gmail.com. And check back next Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts, for our very, very fun, very season finale-y episode. I don't know. I don't know how to hint it without being obvious, because this is like the one thing that all of my jokes are obvious about.
It's gonna be a colorful
I feel
episode,
like that's
y'all.
a hint enough in itself.
Yeah, Caroline was right. It's gonna be a colorful episode. That's as good as we're gonna get.
Yeah. It'll be our season 1 finale, and then we'll explain a little bit more what that means when we get to it. But yeah, check back.
And then
next
what
week.
did we say the season 2 finale is?
Season 2
Is it you two fighting to the death?
Season
It's a battle
2 finale
royale.
will be an instrumentalist battle royale. So
Oh yeah, of who practices the least.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
On
And
that note,
without
my
further
computer's
ado-
running out of battery, so
Without further ado, 3, 2,
2, 1.
1.
Bye, nerd.
Bye, nerd.
Bye, nerd.
All
All
right,
right.
that's been done.
Ending now.